They say 9/11 changed the world. And they are right. On that crisp autumn morning in New York, two towering giants of steel and glass stood proud against the cloudless sky. One, World Trade Center, the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, proudly proclaimed America's prowess, while its neighbor, the South Tower, was merely seconds away from claiming that same title for itself. They were icons of American might, impervious to anything but the heavens themselves. Then, at 8:46 a.m., a Boeing 767 slammed into the North Tower, tearing a gaping hole in its side. Within minutes, another plane, also a Boeing 767, struck the South Tower. From coast to coast, Americans stared in disbelief as their world was turned upside down. By the time the second tower collapsed, nearly 3,000 innocent lives had been extinguished. But in the aftermath of this unprecedented attack, amidst the dust, the death, and the despair, whispers emerged, questions that refused to be silenced. How did two of the strongest skyscrapers in the world collapse in less than 2 hours? What happened to Building 7? And was the attack on the Pentagon really what it seems? 24 years later, the smoke has cleared, but the shadows remain. On September 11, 2001, millions of Americans tuned into their televisions or turned on their computers to witness an unfolding nightmare. 2 planes, 2 towers, and a carefully orchestrated attack that seemed straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. But the terror of that day transcended any movie screen. At 8:46 a.m., a blue sky, a sunny day, the World Trade Center stands tall. At 8:46 a.m., it would all change. A Boeing 767 slams into the North Tower, tearing a gaping hole in its side. Eyewitnesses describe a scene straight out of a disaster movie. People pour out of the skyscraper, running for their lives. But not everyone can escape the horror that unfolds before their eyes. At 9:03 a.m., just 17 minutes after the first attack, another Boeing 767 crashes into the South Tower. Now, with both towers ablaze, the scale of the disaster becomes clear. By 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapses. But the attacks don't end there. At 9:37 a.m., at the Pentagon, workers look up in the sky just in time to see a plane hurtling toward their building. Before they can react, the plane strikes the western side of the Pentagon, sending a massive fireball into the sky. United Flight 93, 10:03 a.m. In a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, passengers on board United Flight 93 learn of the attacks on the World Trade Center. As they brace for impact, it's unclear whether they're heading toward the White House or the Capitol building. But their fate hangs in the balance. Now, the official account tells a story of bravery as passengers and crew fight back against the hijackers, bringing the plane down in a valiant effort to prevent further loss of life. But, like the other narratives, this too has its own share of inconsistencies. As the dust settled over New York City, a sense of disbelief and sorrow hung heavy in the air. The Twin Towers, once symbols of American strength and prosperity, now lay in ruins. But amidst the grief, questions began to arise. Why did the planes collapse? In the immediate aftermath of the attacks, the priority was rescue and recovery. But soon after, engineers and experts began to investigate how the Twin Towers, designed to withstand earthquakes and terrorist attacks, could have collapsed so rapidly. The official explanation points to a combination of factors, including the intense heat from the burning fuel, structural damage from the impact, and the progressive collapse of the steel frame due to these factors. But eyewitness accounts tell a different story. Many who witnessed the collapse of the Twin Towers reported hearing a series of explosions before the buildings came tumbling down. These explosions, according to some accounts, sounded like bombs going off inside the towers. Could there be more to the collapse of the Twin Towers than meets the eye? When it comes to Building 7, however, the conspiracy theories become even more pronounced. Building 7, 5:20 p.m. In the immediate aftermath of the attacks on the Twin Towers, Building 7, a 47-story office building stands defiantly amidst the smoke and the dust. But at 5:20 p.m., it, too, collapses. But what makes the collapse of Building 7 particularly puzzling is that it was never hit by a plane. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen smoke coming from within the building before it collapsed. Some even reported seeing flames. Could there have been a fuel leak or a fire in the building's basement where fuel tanks were located? Or could there have been something more sinister at play? Was Building 7 brought down intentionally to allow for the controlled demolition of the Twin Towers? Could it have been part of a larger plot that involved the destruction of all three buildings? The collapse of Building 7 continues to be a source of mystery and speculation, with many believing that there is more to the story than what we've been told. The Pentagon attack raises its own set of perplexing questions. At the Pentagon, one of the most perplexing aspects of the attack is the relatively small amount of debris found at the crash site. Given the size of the building and the speed of the aircraft, one would expect a much larger crater and more extensive damage. Many conspiracy theorists believe that what we were shown was not a commercial airplane but rather a missile or some other kind of unmanned flying vehicle. This theory is supported by the fact that no conclusive evidence of a Boeing 757 was ever recovered from the crash site. Furthermore, the official explanation for the damage caused by the plane does not seem to add up to some. Why is the damage so concentrated, and why is there no sign of the left wing of the aircraft? Could there be more to the Pentagon attack than we know? The story of Flight 93 is one of heroism. According to the official account, passengers and crew members fought back against the hijackers, preventing them from reaching their intended target, believed to be either the White House or the Capitol building. But, as with the other attacks, there are inconsistencies in this narrative. Many believe that the passengers on Flight 93 may not have known the full extent of the attacks already carried out on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. If they had known, would they have risked their lives to fight back against the hijackers? Was the plane brought down in a struggle with the hijackers, or was there more to its sudden descent? The attacks of September forever changed the course of history. The United States, still reeling from the shock of the attacks, responded with the War on Terror. The attacks also led to significant changes in airport security measures worldwide, making air travel much more stringent than it had ever been before. But the attacks also had profound implications for civil liberties. In the wake of the attacks, the U.S. government enacted several policies and laws that were justified in the name of national security, such as the Patriot Act, which gave law enforcement agencies broad new powers to monitor and track citizens. These measures were controversial as they raised concerns about civil liberties and the balance between security and freedom. Did the events of 9/11 change the world as we know it? Looking back, it's clear that the attacks of September 11, 2001 were a watershed moment in history. They changed the way we travel, the way we think about security, and the way we view our place in the world. But even 24 years later, questions remain. How did the Twin Towers collapse so quickly? What happened to Building 7? Did a plane really hit the Pentagon? And what truly transpired on Flight 93? The official accounts provide explanations, but they leave some of us unconvinced. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the rubble, in the silence of that fateful day, and in the secrets that refuse to stay buried. The attacks of September 11, 2001, will forever be etched in our collective memory. They serve as a reminder of the fragility of peace, the brutality of extremism, and the resilience of the human spirit. As we remember and honor the victims of this tragedy, let us also continue to seek the truth, no matter how painful or inconvenient it may be. For, in the pursuit of justice and understanding, we find the strength to move forward and build a better world. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more updates. Subscribe to the One Time Files. Please like and share. Have a nice day.